Are you tired of waiting hours or even days to unlock value from your customers? What if there was an AI powered way to unlock the full power of your customer data in Databricks that's accessible to marketing, analytics, and product teams, not just data engineers? Welcome to One Amazing Thing About Amperity. Today we're talking with Derek Slager, co founder and CTO at Amperity, and he's going to be sharing one amazing thing about Chuck data with us today. Derek, welcome to the show.
Greg, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to taking a look at this in action in a second here. But before we get started, why don't you give a little background on you and your role at Amperity?
Yeah, so I look after product and engineering, information security, and data science, and a number of other things related to kind of the technical operations here at Amperity. And so kind of have a front row seat to all the innovation happening in and around the customer experience, kind of universe. And so obviously we as a platform have a bunch of data capabilities, but we also kind of a front row seat to the places where data comes from, and also a front row seat to where the data goes and how it's used. So we have a really interesting perch to see what leading brands are doing with customer data and how that's evolving over time. So it's a super interesting place to sit in the stack.
Yeah, I love it. Well, yeah, and I'm looking forward to taking a look at this. Before we do, why don't you just give us a little teaser of why did you choose this feature to showcase, and who's the audience, and why is it important to them?
Yeah. So we're talking today about Chuck Data, which is kind of a new product offering that we launched a little bit earlier this year, and it was really inspired. We as a team have really leaned into vibe coding and really looking for opportunities to fully leverage AI to help us innovate faster for our customers. And many people from the team have experimented with all kinds of different tooling, and this is something that we use on a day-to-day basis. And at one point we started to ask ourselves a question: well, wait, if this is allowing us to change our workflow and innovate faster, like why don't we create sort of this for some of our customers, who might be in more of a data engineering persona, who have, kind of difficult customer challenges to solve, related to data. So like what if we created something that was kind of inspired by the vibe coding tools that we use every day to do kind of traditional software engineering, and made those things available to data engineers focused on customer data use cases. And so that's really kind of the kernel of the idea that led to Chuck Data. So we created a terminal-based experience where somebody can, in essence, use AI to solve some, really interesting customer data challenges. Of course, Chuck, was able to borrow some of the capabilities that we've built into our enterprise platform, and we've just kind of packaged those and put them, into a new experience that runs, entirely in your own Databricks environment. So, there's no need to move data, and in fact, quite the opposite, because we're taking compute and moving it inside of Databricks as opposed to taking the data and reading it or moving it outside of the core platform.
Nice, love it. Well, yeah, let's take a look. Why don't you share your screen?
Sure will. And so we're going to go straight to a terminal. And so, for some people, that's the most exciting surface to see. For other people, it's a little bit scary. But, for those who might be, a little bit less familiar with the terminal, rest assured, there's a lot of great capability that comes from this. So I'll start by just running Chuck data. And I think the most important part of Chuck happens right at the beginning,
Nice.
which shows you, some very exciting ASCII art, very much leaning into kind of the retro vibe from a terminal interface.
Love it.
I've already set this up, and so this is already connected to my Databricks account. But basically, there's just kind of a small setup where you give it a small amount of information that allows Chuck to communicate with your Databricks account. It's communicating directly with your Databricks account. So if I start by just asking a question, what customer data do I have? Chuck is thinking, what's happening here? So what Chuck is actually doing is, it's taking this question, it's taking a bunch of other context, and it's actually using your Databricks instance to execute, not only the large language model call that's evaluating the question that I'm asking, but it's also giving it a collection of tools and other things that allows it to do something really useful. So in this particular case, we've given it access to a tool. It's realized, hey, in order to figure out what customer data I have in this Databricks instance, I need to run this tool, scan schema for PII. And what that resulted in is it found 3 tables. So it searched through my entire catalog in Databricks. It found 3 tables that have PII, and it found all the different columns. You can see it's given me just a quick summary, of what all these things are. And I can continue to interact and ask questions about these sorts of things, but I'm gonna just kind of cut to the chase and say this is great, but build me an identity keychain. And so basically, what I'm asking it to do is take these 3 tables and stitch them all together, right? And if you think about what you would typically have to do in order to create an identity keychain, I'd have to do a bunch of analysis. I'd have to build a complex rule set. I'd have to build a whole evaluation framework. There would be an incredible number of steps that I would have to go through. In this particular case, it's just done it for me, right? And so you can see it decided to set up a stitch integration. It's figured out everything that it needs to do in order to do that. It built me the configuration based on all of the PII that it discovered, and then it's giving me a Databricks job run ID. So basically, what's happened is it's kicked off a job inside of Databricks. And so, if I go ahead and jump over to my browser window, I can actually see right here, 42 seconds ago, and counting, there's a job running. And note that I'm in Databricks, right? I'm on Databricks.com and in an environment where where I can have complete control over everything that's happening here. So inside my own Databricks instance, this stitch job is running. Now, given that you run a tight show here, Greg, I've got a little bit of a magic of television, here.
For
So
sure, yeah.
you can see there's one that I ran a little bit earlier this morning, which ran for about 12 minutes, and it succeeded. So, okay, what happened? And so here's another cool thing that Chuck does for us. When it kicks off the stitch job, it also creates a notebook. And again, we're still in that exact same Databricks environment here. But this notebook, is kind of a visual interface for you to understand what that stitch process did. So it's really cool because you get to come in here and sort of see how all of the data works. And you can see charts, right? So I can see here, okay, I had 139 million source records, and I ended up with 79.7 million clusters, right? So I can kind of instantly see a visual of sort of what happened in this process. And then I can keep scrolling down if I want to understand more. I can see improvements in PII classification. I can come down. I can see things by source, right? So I can see that there were, different levels of consolidation and duplication across different types of inputs, and I have a number of different views. One of my favorite views is this Venn diagram overlap view, right? So across all of those different sources, I can see visually how much overlap there was between different types of sources. So I can see, oh wow, between the kind of purple areas here, there's much more overlap than in the green area, which just gives you, a really high level, interesting visualization, across your whole data space. And so I have all this richness of insight and connectedness in my data. And, I didn't count it, but that maybe took me 60 seconds of total effort to do.
Right.
So just like people are sometimes wowed when they can say, generate an app or generate a video game and then play it. This is sort of that, but for really challenging customer data challenges.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Yeah, and I mean, to your point, this is, I mean, the documentation part alone would take, I mean, hours to probably to understand and truly, glean all that if someone was to just try to sit down and do that. But, in addition to, the earlier part of just creating the, connecting the data points together and everything like that as well. So, I mean, how much would you estimate, like, how much time would this take somebody using more traditional methods, do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna say something dramatic because I mean we're not talking about saving hours or even weeks. I mean I think we're talking about saving several quarters. And
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, I think you're not just saving that time and all the kind of opportunity there, but you're also getting a better result. Chuck is built on top of a lot of lessons that we've learned solving these problems at enormous scale for hundreds of the world's largest companies. And so, we've tuned this and kind of learned what works, and kind of all those lessons are packaged up. In the context of Chuck, we're putting a lot of power, in the box here for Chuck. Our intent was to build something that's kind of a wow moment, and trying to create that that same experience a lot of people have when they first see the code coming out of the Vibe coding tool. We want kind of that same level of wow moment for the customer data engineer. And what's so exciting for us is to imagine, that customer data engineer who might have spent, several quarters going through this work. Like, imagine what else they could do, starting from this point, like, and the things that they could build that are, extremely value adding and unique to the business that they're a part of. Like, that's what gets us really excited about this.
Yeah, I mean that idea of accelerating things, quarters, even months or weeks when things are moving so quickly. Yeah, that's well, I'm wowed. I'll just say that. So that's amazing. Well, Derek, thanks so much for showing this off and joining today. For those that want to get a better taste of this, what should they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to chuckdata.ai, which I'm sure we'll include a handy link for that in the in the show description. And also, feel free to check us out at Amperity. Chuck is one offering, and the one we focused today. There's many other things that Amperity does to help customers kind of solve their challenging customer data engineering problems. And we also kind of include information about Chuck, but also many of the other capabilities that we have about Amperity at amperity.com.
Love it. Well, again, I'd like to thank Derek Slager, co-founder and CTO at Amperity, for joining the show.